Lindsay, why don't you tell us a little bit about your experience running for office, right? You're a millennial. You mentioned why. You gave us a really great description why. But you're running against a pretty entrenched incumbent, right? So I guess the first question is to kind of open up the gates. Our objective here is to kind of let people at home watching know, like, what's it like, right? Because many people have no idea. So I guess the first question is time.
Yeah.
More time, less time? Did it meet your expectations? Like, where has that gone?
So that's been interesting because when I went into this experience, obviously one of the first people that I discussed the idea to run with was my husband, because if I didn't have his support, off the bat on board, it was going to be difficult. I think he knows that even if he wasn't really gung-ho that I was going to do it anyway, because that's just who I am, and he knows who we married, but he was fortunately thrilled and super supportive. But our initial discussion was around the financial aspect of it. So when you are running a congressional campaign, even a local campaign, but especially a congressional campaign, there's this expectation that you're going to put forth a lot of your own personal money and that you're going to raise even more than that. And so we discussed the finances in that regard, in that, we are solidly middle class and still paying off a lot of student loans. And we decided that ultimately the only way we could afford to run this race and put any dollars into it, let alone the small dollars that we have put in, is if I continued to work full time. So I very much split my time between the campaign and working full time. And I've been saying that if working moms can do it, I can do it too. The campaign will just be my baby. I'll go to work from 9 to 5. My campaign team will babysit it while I'm gone. And then from, 5 to 9 and on weekends, I'm the candidate, which has actually worked out really well because that's when voters are around. They're working full time too, for the most part. So in terms of actual time commitment, I have managed to do it while working full time. And, I wind up going to events in the evening a couple of times a week. I, spend a few hours each weekend doing administrative stuff, going canvassing, like really trying to sink the time in. And I do see that the time is going to escalate as it gets closer to the primary. But to date, it has not been quite as time consuming as I initially thought it was. But a lot of people would probably say that it means that I'm not running hard enough.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that I would agree with those people. I think Lindsay made a really strong point. I think this is, for all of us in like the millennial generation who might be watching this, the biggest thing about succeeding in anything is just starting, right? Whether it's in the private sector, whether it's in the public sector or the nonprofit sector, I really like that response, because to me, I'm hearing like, look, it's not easy, right? My time is limited. I still have to work to live, like many of us do, but I'm doing it, right? I'm just making the commitment to doing it, and that's really all it is. And you can't. Someone who would say you're not working hard enough, I mean, that's just ridiculous. What is that scale, right? There's no scale. It's you're doing the best effort you can, and I think no matter what, and this kind of really nicely ties into our next question that I have, which is great. But I think that effort is, if nothing else, to fellow millennials out there, is showing that, hey, I'm doing it. Like, win or lose, I'm doing it. I'm saying I'm going to put myself out there. Right, so on the note of just kind of doing it, what would you say, aside from just do it, right? What would you say to someone at home who's maybe more, getting more interested in kind of sharing your story? Because I can actually personally like that too, right? I'm not ashamed to admit it, 2016 was a catalyst year for myself. Well, I was into political philosophy. I enjoyed studying it, reading about it, but to actually do something, that was kind of my catalyst, so to speak. So if someone's at home watching, what would you tell them about getting involved? Like, aside from just doing it, what are some things that they could do from your perspective to help, whether it's running for office or local?
So if you're hesitant to be the person who's running, find candidates that you agree with and who you want to support, and send an email, offer to volunteer. And volunteering can be as simple as offering to share all of their social media posts with your audience to extend their reach. That's like a really, really simple, on the couch activism move that you
Sure.
can make. But you can also get more involved where you can go out and go canvassing for that candidate, and you can, throw some cash their way too. That's always appreciated, certainly. You can phone bank for them. If you're freaked out by the phone, maybe you can send postcards for them to some of their voters. Postcards are actually really, really great because, handwritten postcards, people don't expect them. So when you get a handwritten postcard in the mail, you're like, whoa, what's this?
Yeah.
And it has a really personal touch, and it's a really good persuasion point. And it's very, very inexpensive for volunteers to decide this is something that I want to do. You go to the store, you pick up a pack of postcards, you go get a book of postcard stamps, which are cheaper than Forever stamps, if you were wondering.
Really? Didn't know that.
Yeah, and you just, write a few off, get some addresses, which most candidates will be happy to share some targeted voter lists with you, and mail them out.
Really interesting. So I like that because you kind of broke it into three different things, right? If you have money, donate money. If you have time, donate time.
Right.
If you have neither, share Facebook posts,
Yeah,
right? Or Twitter posts. So
exactly.
I think there's something for everyone there who might be interested in kind of becoming more involved. Really great perspective.